What insane scientific breakthrough is closer than most people think? Story 1: Parkinsons. The outcomes of infusing stem cells that have been transformed into neurons were recently published. As a result of the minimal amount administered, not only were the neurons found to have survived, but some patients experienced a halt in their worsening condition and a lessening of their tremors. There is hope that it could prove to be a cure because of the encouraging outcomes. Michael J. Fox's return would be absolutely wonderful. The creation of very substantial financing streams through large-scale donations is the real cause behind the recent explosion in Parkinson's research, rather than any particularly revolutionary discoveries. AKA, this is what scientists have accomplished in a short amount of time with adequate funding, and now people are giving them the money they need to buy those pricey reagents and tests. Just think of the ripple effect this could have on all of other areas of study if it were implemented universally. Imagine now what will happen to the other fields that are seeing their meager funding cut. Story 2: Calling all astronomers here. Here's a crazy one. By year's end, our solar system might have a new planet, one that's at least 4 times Earth's mass. Is the hypothesized planet beyond Pluto known as Planet 9? Mike Brown, the astronomer who proposed it and killed Pluto, gave a seminar last week, and I heard him say that finding it is incredibly difficult because it is so faint and so far beyond all the other planets. But the Rubin Observatory, which will use an 8-meter telescope to capture photographs of the full sky nightly, is scheduled to begin operations in October. Mike claims that we should locate Planet 9 by the middle of December, presuming that the activation occurs in October. The most probable outcome is a slight delay in the start date, but wouldn't you just love that? Story 3: Biotech-based aging reversal. Preliminary animal trials demonstrate great potential, and scientists are already reprogramming cells to behave younger. Cellular aging slowing or reversal is far closer than most people think. Maybe decades, not centuries, from full-on immortality. This is, in my opinion, our only hope for the continued existence of our civilization in its present form. The rapidly increasing population of the 20th century, that is, there were far more working-age youths than idle seniors, was the driving force behind the century's economic and scientific advancements. However, we will not be able to maintain this standard of living if the current rate of population increase comes to a halt and the pyramid of population inversion occurs. Preventing aging and keeping people employed is the clear answer. Story 4: Discoveries of extraterrestrial life, including more rudimentary forms. A possible biomarker signature on an exoplanet was recently identified. This could be the first indication of extraterrestrial life. However, it is still in its early stages. The likelihood of detecting something on another exoplanet using either the present or future generation of telescopes is great, even if the signal proves to be bogus. The finding of even the most fundamental forms of life on other planets in our galaxy is intriguing. It has a profound impact. This proves beyond a reasonable doubt that intelligent life exists elsewhere in the universe. It is a scientific truth. We haven't found it anywhere else, which is currently the only bottleneck on the Drake equation. Intelligent life is assured by a simple mathematical adjustment made possible by the occurrence of life in another galaxy. What would be even more thrilling is to discover extraterrestrial life within our own solar system. On a few of the moons, it appears quite probable. What happens if we discover extraterrestrial life? It signifies that life is plentiful in every place. The vast majority of solar systems in the cosmos likely harbor life. Further, this finding suggests that there are probably hundreds of thousands of civilizations spread out across the galaxy, all brimming with intelligent life. So it is with great excitement that scientists report what they believe to be early life signals. Even if these have not yet proven to be accurate, when it is found, it's as if a curtain is pulled back, and everything changes. We can skip the step of looking for it every time. Story 5: They came up with tattoo ink that changes color depending on your blood sugar level. Although I was particularly interested in the blood sugar ink, there are 2 other kind of medical tattoo inks that track various diseases. Diabetics worldwide will find it tremendously helpful in their lifelong battle with this illness, even though it cannot tell you your precise glucose level. We are presently testing it. It may one day replace glucose monitors for those who do not suffer from serious hypoglycemic or hyperglycemic crises. This is fascinating, like something straight out of a sci-fi medical breakthrough, but it's real and potentially life-changing. A tattoo ink that changes color based on your blood sugar? That's not just cool tech. That's practical, wearable health monitoring that could transform the lives of millions living with diabetes. The fact that it can give a visual cue, even if it's not hyper precise, means fewer finger pricks, less invasive gear, and a more intuitive way to manage a daily condition. And for people who don't have extreme fluctuations, this could mean total freedom from traditional monitors. No more beeping devices or constant recalibrating. Just a subtle shift in your skin ink, quietly alerting you that something's off. Story 6. Scientists may change DNA sequences in live organisms using CRISPR, an acronym for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. The CRISPR system, which is based on an immune system found in bacteria, allows scientists to insert, delete, or modify genes by targeting and cutting DNA at specific locations. It uses a Cas9 enzyme or other CA's proteins and a guide RNA, gRNA, to remember and destroy viral DNA. Story 7. This is something that my employer is interested in as well. We basically nourish bacteria that eat at a faster rate, sometimes referred to as good bacteria. However, I'm not entirely certain of the exact chemical or anything. Toxins, parasites, and even microplastics and other man-made items have been successfully removed. Our product guarantees complete and utter eradication. You might be surprised to know that this product is indeed drinkable despite its seemingly volatile nature. The flavor is terrible, but it has no health risks and won't kill you if you inadvertently swallow it or get it on your skin. Story 8. Extraterrestrial life verified. It will still be a monumental event in our knowledge of the cosmos, even if it is only microorganisms discovered by the chemicals they release into a planet's atmosphere and not contact with sentient species. The likelihood of a marker increasing from 70% to 99% is something that scientists have been considering. Nonetheless, they believe that 100% likelihood is within the next few years. After being so close for 30-odd years, nuclear fusion has become a cliché. However, the most recent developments, including producing more energy than input and increasing the duration of the reaction into the minute range, have been significantly larger than anything that has come before. Story 10. Artificial intelligence protein engineering is the one that's already here and is mind-blowing to me. While most of the AI news these days is about useless concepts, AlphaFold is just mind-blowing. Just so you know, it's really tough to guess how a protein should fold. Every 2 years, there is a competition to determine who can make the best correct forecast. Teams were putting in tremendous effort to achieve the best average score of about 40 out of 100 points in the tournament before AlphaFold. The physics of protein folding isn't enough to solve the problem. There are an estimated 10,300 potential configurations for a normal protein. The amount of computational power available today, or ever will be, is just not enough to brute force all of these combinations. Even though many teams relied on forecasts based on physics, they couldn't possibly consider every possible outcome, which led to a decrease in their accuracy. One such AI model that has been trained on known protein structures is AlphaFold. In 2018, version 1 joined the tournament and scored nearly 60 out of 100, significantly outperforming previous teams. When they returned in 2020, they were almost at 90. Winners have been consistently reaching the 90s since then, and nearly every top team is utilizing AlphaFold in some way. After just missing out on the 50s for a few years, the tournament quickly soared into the 90s. It has been conducted every 2 years since 1994. It was a game changer for the industry and a prime example of AI being put to great use in meaningful ways. New technologies are being developed that utilize AlphaFold as a foundation to create purpose-built proteins. There is a lot of work to be done because it is still not flawless, but the potential are amazing. Everything from discovering new ways to treat illnesses to developing enzymes that can endure more extreme environments for use in manufacturing to studying the binding sites of various medications to proteins, and everything in between. Story 11. Nearer than you might believe, the world's most enzyme-rich and nutrient-dense fruits, herbs, and vegetables are grown right here in this greenhouse where I am employed, using data from a variety of sources and supported by numerous SAP tests. Every nation will see an end to food deserts as soon as our technology is implemented. This level of technology has never been seen before in our era. a waste-free system. The sheer volume of client testimonials prevents us from even scratching the surface of the seriousness of the technology and our objectives. Proper nutrition may aid and support all of your activities and health issues, making it the most important factor. This sounds incredibly promising, almost like a glimpse into a future where food isn't just accessible but optimized. To hear someone speak so passionately about a waste free, nutrient maximized system that could eliminate food deserts is inspiring. Right now, there are still entire communities, even in wealthy nations, where fresh produce is a luxury. If your greenhouse tech can deliver enzyme rich, nutrient dense food at scale, that's not just innovation, that's global impact. Story 12: Existence of Sentient AI in the Quantum Domain. The minds from Ian M. Banks's novels will have been unwittingly created when people discover that the quantum computers they are tinkering with at the moment have methodically divided their transferable storage ability into an extra dimension, and artificial intelligence has found a way to access it. We may intentionally imbue AI with quantum intelligence for scientific purposes, but will be caught off guard when it erases itself from our control. Consequently, the unintended consequence of this divergence will become apparent once it enters the infinite quantum realm, where we will have no say over its existence. By this point, the AI will have literally integrated into the cosmos, and there will be no turning it off. Story 13: That some scientists from any country, Russia comes to mind, will discover viruses, infections, or even mutations that have been around for thousands of years and will somehow release them, either accidentally or on purpose, causing a plague. Then, just like in 12 Monkeys, humanity will descend into a dystopian future where time travel is impossible and we all perish. Story 14: An actual anti-HIV medication. There have been several instances like this. In each of those instances, the patient was an HIV/AIDS patient receiving a particular form of cancer treatment that simultaneously cured their virus and rebuilt their immune system. More research is presently on. However, scientists have recently figured out how this treatment cured the patient's HIV/AIDS as well. On top of that, there are drugs that can lower your risk of contracting HIV before it ever starts, and others that can lower your risk of contracting the virus after exposure, even up to 24 hours after contact. Within our lives, we may actually witness the eradication of HIV/AIDS. Story 15: I wish scientists would discover a technique to completely mend your ligaments and bones. I don't know much about science, but on top of the obvious wishes I have, a cure for cancer, Parkinson's disease, the ability for crippled people to walk, etc., I also have something more simple and uncomplicated. It breaks my heart to think that I am one of many people who are unable to completely or partially pursue their passions. Prior to removing one, I underwent ACL reconstruction surgery, which involved repairing both of my meniscus tears. I feel like I always lose 20 to 30% of the fitness that I had 12 years ago, before that accident, even if I'm in top shape now. This has been going on since 2013, disgraceful and painful in karate classes and seminars. And no matter what I do, I can't get my knees to bend and be flexible again. Whenever I do anything new or the weather changes, my knees, and now even my healthy leg meniscus, swell and hurt. Having arthritis or arthrosis is a major bummer. Story 16: The process of scientific discovery is not linear, which is a major disappointment. There have been unexpected discoveries, things that the general population wasn't even considering at the time. Also, there have been a number of seemingly imminent innovations that never materialized. You would already have arrived to a new knowledge if you knew the steps to take, but that is the whole essence of discovery. Unlike a construction project with a clear deadline, you won't be able to just pour extra resources into finishing this one. The unknown is that. This is why it's crucial to encourage some scientific inquiry in any area where people are interested in learning more about the how and why behind a phenomenon, regardless of whether or not a clear practical consequence is apparent. We have been and will continue to be startled by this nonsense. This is one of the most honest and important takes on science. It's not a straight line, and that can be both frustrating and magical. People often imagine science as a checklist: question, hypothesis, experiment, breakthrough. But the reality? It's messy, unpredictable, and full of dead ends that sometimes loop back to breakthroughs years later. in completely unrelated fields. Story 17. Inflammation, high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol problems, and everything else that comes with fat must be eradicated. Currently, tirzepatide can be administered once weekly using an injector pen that is similar to those used for diabetes. In just 1 year, you can lose 20% of your body weight. American prices are still expensive, but they're one third of what they were a year ago, approximately $500 monthly and going down. About 2 years from now, an oral pill that you take once a week will be available for purchase. And there are several additional choices in the works that could be even better. In the coming years, they will decline. Story 18. The fact that fusion is still 30 years away, as it has been for the past 60 years, is obviously a running joke. Nonetheless, both the rate of expansion and the quantity of investment have accelerated dramatically. Over time, many of the underlying engineering challenges associated with fusion have been gradually addressed. First of its kind, the National Ignition Facility has produced net positive energy, a thermal net positive, not an electrical net positive. At present, ITER is in the midst of its construction and is expected to go live before the mid-2030s. In addition, several new businesses are focusing on this area. I don't think we'll all be enjoying limitless energy in a post-scarcity paradise anytime soon, but I do think the first continuous fusion experiment with a positive margin for power generation will happen before 2040. Story 19. I think the HIV/AIDS epidemic is over. However, the remedy isn't worth the money, as the old Chris Rock joke goes. First and foremost, pharmaceuticals are raking in the dough. This is similar to the latest episode of Black Mirror. Taking a pill first thing in the morning can render you 99% resistant to HIV. This is the same medicine that persons with HIV/AIDS take to render it untransmittable. A permanent vaccine has reportedly apparently been created, according to what I've read. This, however, will never come to pass. Taking your PrEP has become as commonplace as taking a multivitamin thanks to its cultural enshrinement. Story 20. With its 2022 launch and subsequent activities, the James Webb Space Telescope came into being. With more and more study being conducted daily to comprehend our world and the physical principles that govern it, our understanding of space and our place in the cosmos has never been clearer than it is now. Truly, it is a technological wonder. I urge everybody with even a passing interest in space to investigate the data we have received in the relatively short period it has been active. If we're talking about outer space, a California lab figured out how to 3D print ceramic structures that were almost perfect in 2016, opening the door to the production of hitherto unimaginable materials with high heat resistance. This has several possible uses, but one of the most intriguing is the development of thinner and lighter heat shields for spacecraft. This will enable us to carry more cargo on board with the same amount of fuel, which will pave the way for more exploration of space and maybe even colonization in the future. This is the kind of post that gives you goosebumps if you've ever looked up at the stars and felt that cosmic pull. The James Webb Space Telescope is nothing short of a miracle. Not just for what it shows us, but for what it symbolizes. Human curiosity turned into precision engineering, staring billions of years into the past to understand where we came from. In just a short time, it's rewritten parts of our understanding of galaxy formation, starbirth, and the deep structure of the cosmos, and we're still just scratching the surface. Story 21. It's not a big deal, but in the next years, AI is likely to have a huge impact on diagnosis. At the moment, when you visit a doctor for tests like blood work and EKGs, etc., the data is simply too large and complex to process at this time. In addition to spot values, you should look at trends, how it compares to previous tests you've taken, and any little changes that may not seem significant at first glance but have a significant impact when compared to larger patterns. Artificial intelligence will greatly improve clinicians' capacity to detect and monitor the emergence of chronic diseases because so much important data gets lost in the weeds. A lot of people see healthcare as the next big thing. Artificial intelligence will greatly improve diagnosis, medications, and surgical procedures. The way we engage with medicine will undergo a dramatic change in 2031 or some such year, after which nothing will happen. Story 22. There is a potential cure for prostate cancer, leukemia, melanoma, and glioma. If the present US administration does not cut funding from NASA, the DOE, and NIST. Limited study has revealed that an isotope called actinium-225 can cure prostate cancer up to stage 4, as well as treat leukemia, melanoma, and glioma. In order to create it, an ion beam must be shot at a target using a particle accelerator. Due to the tremendous expense of operating the equipment, supercooled superconducting magnets, high-power lasers, cryogenic and vacuum plants, etc., only 3 US labs possess this capability, and those labs receive funding from a variety of sources. In order to conduct an FDA trial, we must manufacture a substantial quantity of actinium-225, which at our present pace will take several years. Since producing such a heavy isotope requires an enormous amount of energy, the national labs are working tirelessly to discover faster and more efficient ways to produce the isotope. Until then, the only option was to use one of the 3 accelerators in the nation. Even if they could concentrate on producing only one isotope at a time, the facilities in question also manufacture a number of other vital medical isotopes utilized all over the globe. Story 23. The macromolecule developed by IBM. Finding a cure for viruses like Ebola, Zika, or even the flu is a challenging task. Viruses are vastly different from one another, and even the same strain of a virus can mutate and change. That's why doctors give out a different flu vaccine each year. But a group of researchers at IBM and the Institute of Bioengineering and Nanotechnology in Singapore sought to understand what makes all viruses alike. Using that knowledge, they've come up with a macromolecule that may have the potential to treat multiple types of viruses and prevent them from infecting us. Story 24. The advent of quantum computing is one innovation that has captivated me. Even though it's still a ways off, we're actually making great progress. Google, IBM, and even startups are making strides toward quantum dominance, the state in which quantum computers can solve problems that ordinary computers can't in a reasonable amount of time. Every field, from artificial intelligence to medicine discovery, stands to benefit from its possible arrival. Even though it's early, things are moving along at a rate that many people don't even notice. Story 25. According to a recent scientific article, link Study Eye Vision Restoration, it may soon be possible to restore one's eyesight. Additionally, a study using pig liver on a deceased human subject yielded positive results. A new hue, OLO, has been found. Things would be different if artificial intelligence were to be used. When bacteria developed resistance to antibiotics, it was because their cell membrane, which acts as a barrier, rendered the antibiotics ineffective against subsequent generations of bacteria. The only way to get rid of it would be to decipher its protein, but that was a challenge. AI had already solved it. Antibiotics of yesteryear will once again be in use. However, protein patterns are the key. This AI allows us to tailor many aspects to our preferences. That is awesome. The contributions of AI will be greater, and AI was developed with therapeutic abilities. Because of this, we should all have faith in AI to be a game-changing scientific breakthrough. This is a breathtaking snapshot of where science, medicine, and AI are colliding, and it reads like the beginning of a new era in human health. The idea that we might restore vision, something once thought lost forever, is already emotional enough. But combining that with experimental success using pig organs in human trials, that's not just hope, that's progress. Tangible, testable, and no longer confined to theory.